Okay, so come set up hip thrust for me, or with me. Come set up hip thrust with me. So my gym does not have a hip thrust machine, so I have to set it up. So come do it with me. Barbell pad, thick one. I normally end up doing about 360 to 380 for my working sets. I'll do a warm-up set with 135, warm-up with 225, and a warm-up with 315. And then we'll get into my 3 working sets. So I move all the way under the knee over here so it's easier to go once I get my sets started. I haven't hip thrusted for a while, so I don't know how 385 is gonna feel, because that's my top set last time when I was consistently hip thrusting. So we'll see how it treats me after taking a little break. Have a good rest of the day.
You too.
Thank you.
You spend most of it here, huh?
I do.
Yeah.
I never got on and have a few pints already, so I think I was here today.
You have a great day.
Yes, you too.
That guy always comes in and goes on the elliptical and watches the TV at full blast. But he's in here for like 30 minutes normally, and he's so nice. So nice. But I'm just gonna record my whole working set. One, I tend to procrastinate when I do hip thrusts, so I feel like this will help give me some accountability to actually get through it in time. And 2, I work with some clients and some of them have questions on hip thrust, especially with how to set it up in a smaller gym where there's not already a designated machine or area for it. So this is my makeshift hip thrust setup. So let's go through my warm-up sets and working sets. A few form tips with hip thrust. You want your rib cage to be tucked, so you don't want your rib flared out and you don't want your back arched. So by imagining your rib cage being tucked, that helps with the core engagement. And then having our core engaged will A, protect our spine, and B, also take some load off of our lower back. But it'll help put more of the focus on our glutes, which is what we want to hit. We don't want our back to be strained while we do this. So as soon as you feel your back strain, it could be a sign to lower the weight and work on the form. You could need to build up your core strength, or you just may need, some more mind-muscle connection with getting those glutes engaged. So you gotta really use imagery and imagine the correct form before you go, because imagery is going to help you a lot with proper technique. Side note, the reason I have them set on multiple plates is so I can have enough room to get my food underneath me without the weight pressing on my hips. Oh no. Okay. With our back against the bench, I want my feet to my fingertips, and that's normally about the right distance. We don't want a whole lot of knee over toe action, but we don't want our toes too far away from our knees. We want them to be stacked pretty much vertically against each other, so that will engage our glutes the most. If they're further back, that's gonna do a lot of hamstring, and if they're closer in, that's gonna be more quad. So for my quad biased girlies, or the quad dominant girlies, play around with your feet positioning and find the distance that lets you engage your glutes more. And same thing for the inverse, if you feel it more in your hands, play around with the closer foot distance, and that may help target those glutes better. But enough chatter, let's get into it. So 135 warm-up set, I'm gonna do 10. So with the warm-up set, the goal isn't to rep them out as fast as possible. The goal is to focus on that engagement right here. So you really want to focus on your form during the warm-up. Gets your mind and your body ready. Weight increase. This is the fun part. The plate underneath also helps load the weight easier. My goal is to get an actual vlogging camera so I can make videos, but your girl needs a lot more money before she can invest in a camera. Okay, my heart's racing. I did take my pre-workout before this, which I haven't taken for a while, so I'm feeling it. I use the Legion Pulse pre-workout, absolute favorite. I won't use another pre-workout after using Legion's Pulse. They have a stimulant one, which has your caffeine, and then they also have a non-stimulant that doesn't have the caffeine, but it still has the ones promoting the pump, so, which is just getting oxygen throughout your body. But I use the stimulant one, so I'm buzzing a little bit. Warm-up set number 2. We're at 225. Probably just gonna do like 8 reps or so. Take a deep breath before and then get into it. So we're at 6. Now we load up. You know what? I'm only doing 2 warm-up sets today. So we're gonna go ahead and load a 45 and a 25, which makes this 315. So that makes this 365. So this may be my working set. We'll see how it feels. I'm gonna shoot for 8 to 10 reps on this one. It's a workout just getting this thing set up, honestly. So for my working sets, I'll set a rep range because I like to do my working sets at an RIR, which is reps in reserve. So that is a way to measure your intensity. So an RIR of 2, for example, would be stopping 2 reps shy of failure. So you're leaving 2 reps in reserve RIR. It's kind of the inverse scale of rate of perceived exertion, which is on the scale of 1 to 10, how hard was it? 10 being you couldn't do any more reps, you went to failure, that's it. 1 being you could do 10 plus reps, it was super easy, like a warm-up. So an RIR of 2 is the intensity I like to stay around. I'll work in between the 0 and 3 intensity. Typically with my reps, it'll start out at more of an RIR of 2 or 3, and then by the last top set, it's typically an RIR of 0 or 1. Yeah, that's how I do all of my lifts to ensure progressive overload, and by giving yourself a rep range, it lets you hit that intensity more accurately instead of just stopping at 8 when you could have done 10 for that certain weight. So it also lets you see how much you are progressing in the gym, and it helps ensure progressive overload, which is gradually making the exercises more difficult as you go on to stimulate some muscle and strength growth. It also helps, as women, our hormones affect how we lift. So if there's 1 week, you're just weaker thanks to our hormones. An RIR of 2, using an arbitrary weight, an RIR of 2 with 225, 1 week may feel like 130, or not 135, but 215, maybe your RIR of 2 the following week, but you're still maintaining that intensity. If you only have 70% to give one day and you give all 70% of what you have, you're still putting in 100% effort. You don't have to go balls to the wall for everything if you aren't able to. So it gives a little more flexibility to your workouts because it goes off of how you're feeling that day. It's not going off of just a set number on paper, So that's a little explanation of what RIR means. it can be a difficult concept to grasp at first, but a good way of figuring out your RIR is to take an exercise to failure safely. So, like with bicep curls, you know when you can't do another bicep curl. Or with something like a hack squat where the machine will catch you if you can't get it back up. Or bench press, if you can't get it back up, you can't get it back up, Squat's a little difficult unless you know how to properly fail a squat. But if you're a beginner, using a machine assisted lift to failure is really gonna help you get a grasp of what your RIR of 0 point would be. It helps you feel what failure actually is instead of just feeling what a challenging weight is. So it's something that you really have to practice at to fully understand the concept, especially if you're new. You're not going to know how much you can push yourself if you've never had to push yourself that much. So give yourself grace if you're just figuring it all out. That's a cool thing about strength training is you're continually pushing your boundaries. So, okay, rant over. Let's get into this. Okay, so 365, goal is 8 to 10 reps. RIR of 2. We got 8. Now we'll take our rest and get into the rest of it. Okay, set 2, 365, 8 to 10 reps, RIR of 1 to 2. This is definitely feeling harder. I was able to do 385 for 8 to 10 3 weeks ago, but the girls had a lot going on the past 3 weeks. We're gonna do one more set. The last set's gonna be to failure. I'm gonna incorporate myo reps. So that's another technique used in lifting. Myo reps. So that is when you take a lift to failure, RIR of 0, you can't do any more. And then you wait 30 to 45 seconds at most, and then you go to failure again with the same weight. So you should be able to squeeze out, 3 to 5 more reps after taking a little breather. And then that's just another way to really push the intensity and volume and just get that extra little bit of squeeze in before you're done. So I might not be doing as much weight as I could a few weeks ago, but I just need to get used to doing this again. So I'm not too concerned about that, but we're still gonna make sure the intensity is high. An important thing to note with your rest times, when you're doing a heavy lift or something where you want to build strength and muscle, you need to utilize your rest time properly. So you should be resting 2 to 3 minutes between each heavy lift like this. Because if you go before your muscles have properly recovered in that short time, your next set's not going to be as quality. So if I would only wait a minute, my sets would feel a lot harder because my muscles haven't had enough time to rest. Now you don't want to rest too much. There's a fine line. 2 to 3 minutes is an ideal time in between it. So you're still challenging your muscles, but you're able to ensure that your next set is still performed with the same amount of intensity as your previous sets, if not more. Quality over quantity. Okay, so top set number 3, working with 365, incorporating myo reps. So first half, we're shooting for 8 to 10, going until failure, and then we'll rest 30 to 45 seconds, and then get right back into it and shoot to get 3 to 5 more reps with the same weight, and then that's it. And then I'll show you the most important part of this whole exercise when I'm done. I have the bumper too far away. It's all fun and games until you have to move all the weight by yourself. Shift the weight by rolling it. Okay, get realigned. And then thanks to physics, I can still roll this one up without having to lift all of the weight. And then just do that on the other side. Putting your foot on the other side of the bumper to keep it from moving. And then just roll that weight back up. Okay. Okay, now let's get into it. Now we're gonna go 3 to 5 more. I can do it. And that is what hip thrust looks like. So let's go through the hardest part of what hip thrust is. If you know, you know. If you feel called out by this, and it's probably you, putting the weights back. Don't be that person who leaves all the weights out. If you can take 365 pounds off the rack, you can put it back on. So using our lovely deadlift jack, we'll roll this back up and put everything back. Also, if you're too lazy, put your weights back. Like, how can you expect to do any growth if you can't even do the bare minimum of undoing what you did, putting things back? Like, honestly, if you're just too tired to do it, think of it as just part of the workout. You're still actively moving weights around. It builds character. It just shows you're respectful of the equipment and of the place you work out, and of the other people who use your gym. So, one of my biggest pet peeves, put your weights back. It's part of working out, so just do it. Also, when you put your weights back, put them back in the right spot. Don't just throw them somewhere. There's a rack for a reason. Put them back. There's the weight tree on the other racks for a reason. Don't put the 10-pound where the 45 pounds go. Heavy weight on the bottom, light weight on top, descending order. It's just don't be lazy. You're in the gym to improve. Improve on all aspects, not just what you want to focus on. This part is important. Don't neglect it. And then a little hack. We're doing this. Slide the bar all the way at this end. So that's closer to the center of gravity so it doesn't tip over. Slide these bad boys off. Roll them over. Notice how it's not tipping over because all the weight is closer to the center. And now you are done with hip thrust from start to end. Did it take me about half an hour or more to do. Yes, it did, but hip thrust is one of the best, if not the best way to grow your glutes. Push heavy weight. Don't be scared of heavy weight, okay? There you have it. Enjoy. Also, shameless plug, follow me on socials at Lisette Fort Miller. I'll link it down below. And I have some discount codes. Title Wear Activewear, code Lisette. Built Bars, code Lisette. Prodo, code Lisette. And of course, Legion, code LISETTEP for 20% off your first order or double points if you are a returning order, which equates to cash off your next purchase. So give me a like, give me a follow, and hope you enjoyed this.